So much. Thank you, Donna, for that. I love the use of space. I felt like in your work, you could almost feel the texture with your eyes, if that makes sense. And that's so stunning to look at. So thank you for sharing that with us. And thanks for having me here tonight. Of course, I could not say no to this. What a great idea and what a great collection of people reading late night. Thank you so much. Um, to set the tone, I'm going to start off with a poem called Litany, which I think that Pam is familiar with, and should set the tone for what I'm going to read this evening. Litany. I got a rattlesnake in me, getting fat on swallowed words. I got a rattlesnake in me, it bites the heart that warms it and numbs it to the teaching of my mother who said, don't say anything unless you got something nice. But I got a rattlesnake in me. Sends my ability to speak only when spoken to. I feel its split tongue strum. I got a rattlesnake in me whose cool coils circle my spleen, digesting complacency spilled in the pit of people-pleasing, no sense in arguing, speak in a quiet voice. Do you know who you're talking to? That is no way for a lady to. I don't remember asking you. Keep the peace, pleasant company, minority diplomacy. Please don't upset anyone. I'm warning you. Shh. Honey gets more bees. But I got a rattlesnake in me. Can you hear her? I got a rattlesnake in me, drinking vinegar, swallowing concessions whole. I got a rattlesnake in me, teaching me how to sense danger, handle me carefully. I've got a rattlesnake in me, tired of being held up, proof of domination, tired of losing this venom for protection. Every day I remind myself I have a rattlesnake in me. No more to be poked with sticks, no more to meet the edge of the shovel. I got her skin in me, I got a rattlesnake in me, just like tall grass, calm rivers, and fields of wildflowers. Beneath this friendly front porch, watch where you step. I think that sets the tone for where I'm going to go with the rest of my reading tonight. When I started a group of poems called The Problem with My Body, I was very concerned with a project that was funded in the late 1950s and only ended in the 80s, called Project X, which was a eugenics project that used Native women's bodies to practice hysterectomies and abortions, most of them that were unwarranted. And for many, they had no idea they were getting them from many Native women. So they say at least 75,000 Native children were not born due to this eugenics program, which George W. Bush started as a senior project. So I thought a lot about what Native women mean to the West and to the US, and how there seemed to be kind of this link between Native bodies disappearing, lands disappearing, animals disappearing, and that really formed kind of the premise for this book. And I'll enter it with a poem called Squaw, which Pam published in her book, in her anthology, and that the two of you have taught. Squaw. I let the word clear my throat, squaw, and hold the S a little longer than I should. Let the Q push against my back teeth and land flat against my tongue and back of my closed throat. The final sound does not move my lips. I say squaw again, and I feel it on my thighs, climbing back inside of me, finding safety in my ovaries, searching for its home in my blood, in the gentle lining of my scarred cervix, where a decade of knives sterilized tried to clear up this Indian problem. Squaw. And I hear it from the lips of white men. I hear John Wayne run it over his big cowboy teeth like the hungry tongue of a weasel whose eyes alone molest. And I want to steal the word back from his swaggering mouth, put it inside my big woman bones, hide it in my marrow, feed it back to the mouths and the bodies it was stolen from, to put on maps where it is a valley, a peak. This earth body is where it belongs, but not lying with bold-faced and colonizer claims. ill-gotten lands, white-named Nigger Dick, Chink Creek, Jewtown, never belonging to those bodies, misnomers where white skins kill mule deer, ride snow machines, drag trout from our lakes and say squaw like they are saying woman, like they are saying Tuesday, like they are saying nothing at all. And to continue with John Wayne, dear body, it was never your fault. It was not how I dressed you, not your fault you developed full breasts and savage hips at a young age, or that your uncle said, look at that swing as you walked in front of him, age 8. Dear body, it is not your fault that wearing a short skirt puts you in jeopardy, that the brown of your skin puts you in the minds of others that call you exotic, consider you easy, and that because I believed them, I spread my dear legs. Dear legs, I know you wanted to run. Dear heart, forgive me for trying to fool you, and body, forgive me as we try to forgive Disney for sexualizing Pocahontas, as we forgive whomever perverted the word squaw, invented the ridiculous buckskin mini dress that appears on a tan body in every single John Wayne Western. Dear John Wayne, I forgive you for hating horses, but I don't forgive you for using fake Indians to manifest your big screen destiny. In fact, I don't forgive you for using Indians at all to make cowboys and killing iconic, heroic. But I forgive myself for the time when I was 12 and saw you swagger across the TV and thought you were the kind of man I would be safe with, a real man. Dear real men, I am thinking about what the term real means, particularly to my body, specifically my blood, wherein lies the DNA of generations of Native women who now address you, who now charge you with an explanation for the scars of your scalpels and your slurs. If real equals strong and strong equals powerful, by which I mean someone who decides what happens to others, then I address you, but without salutation, because no salutation is unkind enough to address the decisions you made about our dear bodies. I am talking to you, policymakers. I am talking to you, George H.W. Bush. I am pointing my finger at your chest, your dear body, which is still, so far as I know, intact, or at least was when you suggested a bill to Congress, which was passed by Richard Nixon, that allowed doctors to remove the uterus, ovaries, womb, ability for Native American women to reproduce. As many as 60,000. Our population fell by 75%. I'm talking to you and to the America that allowed it. Dear America, I forgive you because, dear America, we are still here, still fighting for rights to our bodies, for our mothers, our daughters, our sisters, dear uterus, dear womb, dear legs and hair and eyes and breast and glorious brown skin and luck of being born native to a naive America. The cuts were deep but not fatal. We are still here, still dear. Dear body, dear bodies, dear, dear bodies. Stay with that. Are you guys okay for a couple more of these angry woman poems? Okay.
No, of course, keep going.
Thank you. The problem of my body. They took our past with a sword and our land with a pin. Now they're trying to take our future with a scalpel. I am trying to solve the problem of my body. You are unnerved by my presence. Examine me the way airports search for weapons. You look at me as if a thing you lost can be found in the brown of my skin, beneath the round of my breasts and lower, until your eyes become scalpels and my body is clay you unsculpt into your ideal. The first cut wrinkles my skin from belly button to pubis. A routine examination, you'll say, but there now, beside you, lay my uterus, then ovaries, which you hold like a wishbone, and my hands, tied by your doctrine, cannot grasp the other side as you grunt the muddy wish of generations of white men and women who claim to civilize this land. What knowledge lies for you in my body that you would carve adits like you quarry for silver, like you dredge streams and frack shale bones and dam the endemic rivers for your power to rise, caducus in hand, an unholy missionary's key that privileges your transplantation into this land, this body, that you pin back together with promises, threats, and then hang as ripe fruit from the limb of a tree. Acknowledge me as evil, even as you try to claim your own rib. You are Adam, and Adam, and Adam, and Adam, and Adam, and Adam, and the snake is of your making. I am not your Eve to be banished to a barren un-Eden. I am trying to solve the problem of my body, and why in God's name that deceiving it is your answer, and why when I look to God, I see only another way that you can proclaim the land of my flesh as your own. And when I look to science, I see only validation for your cuts. And when I look to the law, I see acts in the name of Indian Health Services. And when I look to the tree, I see its trunk split and scarred. And when I look to rivers, I see reservoirs of reservation salmon dying and dying and dying. The problem of my body is that it was your last frontier. And when it is no longer fit for experimentation, for exploration, for damnation, I will not be able to recognize it. I will no longer know this earth. The problem of my body is colonization. The problem of my body is it was stolen. The problem of my body is it is a reservation. The problem of my body is that it reminds you of paradise. And I'll end with a piece from Emergence Magazine, my most recent publication called Coyote Story. And it's a story about a coyote that I ended up killing, that I found caught in a trap. It's like caught in a trap out in eastern Montana. And it had been there obviously for several days, and it was hungry, and I could see it as I pulled up in my pickup at a distance, kind of trying to jump away from the earth, trying to get away from all the things that had trapped it there in this place where it should have been able to be free. And in so many ways, that reminded me of a lot of the Native people in that area, but particularly because I write so much in this vein about what happens to Native women and what happens when their freedom is taken away in the lands that they're indigenous to. And this is about halfway into the essay. I think often about the two people I am. Is that all of me there is? Can I discern one from the other, or have I gotten too close? A friend once asked how it was that I pulled the silver trigger of my .30-06 when it was pointed at the right shoulder of a cow elk on an early winter slope. Something else took over, I told her. I had clicked the safety off and then back on a dozen or more times. My finger moved as delicately past the trigger guard as it does when tracing the bone of my lover's jaw. I am two people. The other one pulled the trigger. The one who writes on the sky the color of month-old snow pushes the U key on this keyboard with her trigger finger, draws it to my lips to say shh when the dogs bark at the sight of a bear and her cubs. Maybe within me there are two survivors, one that kills and one that cleans up. There is a metaphor for my life in the river story, the one about the coyote and the cow. It is about my biological parents, one native, one European, Italian. This is the story I was told, the story of me. I am of two people, colonized and colonizer. I am of two continents, maybe more. When do I bring them together? The story of the coyote and the trap is one I come back to as I write about Native women, how the law protected the trapper, allows sufferings, the removal of pests. Not more than an hour's walk from where the coyote was trapped is the Crow Reservation, a wild horse refuge. Everywhere there is story, ice caves. Native women have been disappearing by the thousands. There is no record of this in federal courts or by police authorities off the reservation. The highest number of disappearing women occurs near man camps, those temporary lodgings set up for oil field workers in places such as Williston, North Dakota, under white skies. The county vet would back me into a corner in the barn and say that now my husband was dead, he could help me, could take care of me. I hid in the basement when he came to my house, my right finger to my lips, asking the dogs to shush. My grandmother prays for all our relations. Is mine the narrative of the West? In this story, I am Crazy Horse. In others, I am Columbus. Which one, my friend asked me, pulls the trigger? How do you know who to trust? Thank you.
Wow. Wow, pretty good.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. CMarie Fuhrman, the anthology where Squaw's found is this one, Truth to Power. Really cool.
Yeah, and if you ever get a chance, as Jesse mentioned before, she also co-edited with Dean Rader this anthology called Native Voices, and it's actually a really different type of collection of Native writings because you know, one of the things about the book is it focuses on craft, and so you know it presents the idea in which, you know, like when we're thinking about Native American poetry, for example, that, you know, Native poetry, you know, is just not some, you know, static idea that, you know, focuses on, you know, some outside idea of what Native poetry is, you know, and so it, you know, the book, you know, I think in a certain kind of way, like addresses how, you know, we can look at Native poets and you know, savor the words that they share on the page, you know, to tap into our imagination, especially when it comes to, you know, the foundation of story, especially within Native culture. And story is definitely an art form, I think, in Native culture. And so thank you for that, Marie. That was wonderful. And I think the notion of Native bodies existing, I think, on this, in this particular part of the world, especially when it comes to Native women, it, you know, it's almost kind of like we're sort of ghosts, you know, and to just even address that is, I think, you know, that part of our imagination, you know, in terms of being writers and artists, you know, that we can, you know, that we address, that we, you know, you know, that we want to exist, and for some reason, yeah, for some reason, sometimes it feels like we don't actually exist, but